The Queen and Prince Philip. Today is the 70th wedding anniversary of the Queen and Prince, and to mark the historic event, Kerry McKittrick talks to two nigh couples who wed in the same era as the monarch. Tommy, 87, and Kathleen, 84, Sands, who have been married for 66 years, live in Dunmurry. They have 7 children: Anne, Geoffrey, Linda, Carol, Hilary, Elaine and Heather. Tommy says, "I was 21 and Kathleen was 17 when we got married. We met at a social evening up at First Dromore Church. You would go up and have a wee dance with all of the girls in the hall. I ended up leaving Kathleen home one night and that was the start of it. Nobody minded us getting married at that age. We got married in the Unitarian Church in Dromore on March 30th, 1951. I was a bricklayer and did it my whole life. I built the garage and the walls around my house. It was a hard life. It's different now because everything's lifted on cranes. I had to do everything with my hands. I would come home with this all back at night, helping hand Tommy and Kathleen Sands. We moved to Dunmurry because I did a lot of work around here. I even worked on this estate where we live now. We had 7 children, 6 girls and 1 boy, so Kathleen didn't have much time for working. I had to keep working. I worked during the day and then I would help out at home at night too. It takes a lot of work to feed a big family. We have 12 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren. We've been around for a long time and the secret is good, clean living. Mind you, I did smoke. I was in the Orange Order, the Black Preceptory and the Masonic Lodge. We never saw the Queen, but we got sent a card and a poem when we had our 60th wedding anniversary. We weren't expecting that. We were able to get a car later on in life and were able to take holidays. We went a few times to Portrush in a caravan and rented bungalows in Port Stewart and the Isle of Man a couple of times. That was with the 4 younger ones, as the 3 older ones were already away and working. Kathleen did work later at RDF, it's called Survitech now, and they make life rafts and life vests. She worked in the factory putting them all together. It was tough work, heavy work, and she had to use solvents doing it. Tommy and Kathleen Sands on the wedding day, I'm surprised we're living as long as we have. We really didn't think we would be around this long. We've had our wee ups and downs along the road. You can go through life without some wee problems, so I'm not going to say that didn't happen, especially with 7 children, as I think most of the arguments came from them. We just kept talking away to each other and had a wee hug every now and again to keep us right. We've always held hands when we were out walking, still do. We don't go out as much as we used to. We used to out walking every day. The whole family is still in or around Belfast and we go to somebody's house for Sunday lunch every week. We're all very close. Kathleen says, "He always held my hand." I say it's to stop me from running away. He's always been very good at looking after me. He still drives and takes me to the day centre in Dunmurry. Tommy looked after everyone in the family. He taught all the children how to do jobs like wallpapering and tiling. He did jobs for all of them for as long as he could. The Queen and her husband seem to have been well suited to each other. My secret to being wed this long is keep saying yes, dear. Geoffrey, 90, and Kathleen, 89, Jevons, who live in Lisnarrick, Cofermanagh, celebrated their 70th year of marriage in March this year. They have 3 children. Kathleen says, "We met in the church army canteen in Omagh in 1946. Geoffrey was in the army. He had been called up for conscription as a young boy. I would volunteer at the canteen with 2 friends every Sunday and Monday night. We would make tea and sandwiches for the troops and wash up afterwards. Geoffrey was in with the other boys for his coffee. They always had a game of pool or cards going. One night I was standing drying all the dishes and Geoffrey came up to me and asked if he could help. I handed him a tea towel and said yes, he could indeed. Geoffrey was originally from Staffordshire in England, so he had to go back to England for training. We had met in March and he came back to Northern Ireland again in November to stay with friends of ours, and when he came back we got engaged. On March 18, 1947, we got married. The funny thing is both of our birthdays are on the same day, March 5th. It's like we were meant to be together. Platinum couple Geoffrey and Kathleen Jevons celebrated their 70th anniversary in March. We were 18 and 19 when we got married. It's very young today, but in those days it was perfectly normal and nobody had anything to say about it. I didn't want to be an army wife, so Geoffrey came out of the force and returned here to live. He did a few different things, but he ended up as a male nurse at the Tyrone and Fermanagh Hospital for 31 years. I didn't work for some time. Our first child came along just a couple of years after we got married, and then there were 2 more after that. I did go back to work when they were a bit older. I got a job at the hospital too, where I was an auxiliary nurse for a number of years. We have 3 children, 7 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. We're both retired a long time and we both use a stick these days, but we still try to get around and get to church. Unfortunately, our children are quite far away from us. Patricia lives in Madeira, Audrey is in Scotland and Geoffrey is in Carrickfergus. We don't get to see the family as much as we would like to. I would never have dreamt at all that we would be married for 70 years. There are good things and bad things about being together for so long. As long as you can hold your temper, which can be difficult at times, and as long as you can stick together at times and agree. Being agreeable means a lot. Geoffrey says we were actually married just before the Queen. There is only one secret to being married for that long. I just keep saying, yes dear. I met Kathleen when I was called up. You didn't volunteer in those days. I'm very happy that I settled here. Fermanagh is one of the best places in the world I could have picked. I've been here so long now my accent is completely gone. I used to be a real Brummie. I'm a proper Northern Irishman now. Timeline of a 70-year remarkable royal love story. In 70 years of marriage, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip had rarely spoken a word about the other in public, but on a couple of rare occasions they gave an insight into their special bond. At their golden wedding anniversary lunch in 1997, the Queen thanked Prince Philip for being her strength and stay. Prince Philip has said, "You can take it from me, that the Queen has the quality of tolerance in abundance." Key dates: June 10, 1921, Philip Mountbatten was born in Corfu to Prince Andrew of Greece and Princess Alice of Battenberg. April 21, 1926, Princess Elizabeth was born to the Duke and Duchess of York. 1934, Elizabeth and Philip met at a wedding. December 11, 1936, King Edward VIII abdicated in order to marry American divorcee Wallis Simpson. Princess Elizabeth's father became King George VI and she heir to the throne. 1939, Elizabeth and Philip began to write to each other after meeting again. 1946, Elizabeth and Philip became engaged, however the official announcement was not made until the following year when Elizabeth turned 21. November 20, 1947, 2,000 guests witnessed the wedding at Westminster Abbey, and 200 million people worldwide tuned in to listen to the ceremony on radio. November 14, 1948, Prince Charles was born. August 15, 1950, Princess Anne was born. February 6, 1952, King George died at the age of 56. Princess Elizabeth was in Kenya, on her way to a tour of Australia, and returned to Britain as Queen Elizabeth II. June 2, 1953, the coronation took place at Westminster Abbey of Queen Elizabeth II. February 19, 1960, birth of Prince Andrew. March 10, 1964, Prince Edward was born. November 19, 2007, the Queen was the first British monarch to celebrate a diamond wedding anniversary. A service was held at Westminster Abbey attended by 2,000 people including 30 family members. Prince William read from 1 John chapter 4716, which includes, "Let us love one another, because love is from God." February 6, 2012, the Queen's Diamond Jubilee was celebrated throughout 2012. She was the second British monarch to reach such a milestone following Queen Victoria in 1897. Belfast Telegraph.